Hello, this is the next section of the French door project. So the French doors have been completely installed, but the original opening, because it was for a double window, was wider than I actually used for the French doors. So I need to replace or actually put in new wallboard in sections that used to be part of where the window was. So that's what I'm doing now. Now I only needed one section of wallboard to finish this off, so I got one piece of wallboard from Lowe's for about $16. And then I just have so far cut off two pieces. One for the 6-inch width that's going to go here, that's this piece right here. And then there's another one which is about 16 or 15 or 16 inches, and that I'm just putting in right over here. Okay, I've already insulated behind these sections. On this side, the actual gap was only about 2 inches. I just filled that in with the pink fiberglass scraps that I had. I more or less just stuffed it. And I just put a piece of building paper that I had lying around for hardwood flooring projects, and I just stapled it over it. On the other side, the gap was almost exactly a 16-inch stud bay gap, but not quite. It just so happened. Here I've marked the stud locations on the floor now, so once I have the wallboard up, I want to know where they are. So this is the double stud, which is part of the window frame. And this is the old double stud that used to be part of the double window frame, and this is for the French door frame. Okay, now I just used a regular 16-inch bat or roll. I cut it to height, and then because this was a double, it turned out I just had to take off some of the fiberglass, and then I used the original wings to actually staple over here, and I just had to remove some of the fiberglass that would have otherwise got blocked by this other double stud. So I was able to fill that in, use the original craft paper on that roll. Now I'm starting to screw in this new piece. Okay, I did cut this wallboard to as tight a dimension as I could. The opening that I had cut was fairly rough. There were a few areas here where you can see it's quite tight, so I did have to kind of just shave off with the utility knife to finally get it wedged in, and now I'm securing it. And I'm using the 1 1/4 drywall screws. Okay, this seems to be the recommended dimension for drywall. You could use longer, but 1 1/4 is okay. And I have a couple boxes of this that I inherited. I'm using the screw gun that I inherited, and I'm using it on setting 1, which is the screw setting. I've set the clutch to the mid-range, which is 10. But honestly, when I'm screwing it in, I don't let the clutch take over. I just get it up to the point where it starts to go below the surface of the paper. If there's any question about that, you don't want to go it too deep. If you take a knife and you rub it across it, you shouldn't make contact. Here's an example. I just put this one in. Okay? It actually makes a little bit of contact. It's not in all the way. So I'm just going to put that in a little bit further. You can do that with the screw gun, but you also don't need to use the gun. If you have something that's close, you can actually just use the screwdriver and just put it in with more control to exactly where you want it. Okay, I just put that in there with my screwdriver. And now I just did it about a half a turn. I'm sure when you get more practice with the screw gun, you can do this much more rapidly. I've marked off, I'm going to put the screws in about every foot on the two sides. I'm going to put one down into the sole plate. Now here, in all cases, I have a full stud in which I can put it into. So I can go back just 3/4 of an inch if this was a butt joint that was overlapping a stud, I can only go 3/8 of an inch, okay? And then you have to be better at it so you don't tear or rip out on the edge. That won't be the case here, because in all cases, I know what's underneath here, and I have a full 2x4, okay? A full width, a 1.5 inch, in which I just center it by putting these points in at 3/4 of an inch. And I'll just hit pause and I'll just continue driving these screws in. This should be completely repetitive after I've done a couple here. It seems to be going in okay. Okay, I'm just working my way around. I got to the bottom. I added a spot. I didn't originally mark a spot for these two corners, but I should have them. And I just did it up 3/4 of an inch, since I know I have solid wood. I don't need to go any closer than 3/4 of an inch, which is what I have in the other locations. On this edge, it's a little bit further back because the stud doesn't start, because there's the gap where the shims go. Okay, so I'm going in the middle of the stud. I just have plenty of room here, so I'm spacing it all out. Okay, I'm working my way around. I just have 3 more screws to put in at the top. I should say that this wallboard that I got, it's tapered on one edge, and that's to facilitate joining up with another sheet of wallboard. So naturally, when I put this in, at the cut edge, I'm putting up against the door frame. That's going to be under the trim. I made sure I got the tapered edge up where I'm going to have to join this to an existing wall. Okay. Now I just have 3 more screws to put in the top. Okay, I finished up here. The only problem I ran into was on this last one I was putting in. The clutch on the drill started stopping, and when I did it by hand, I could see that it looked like this screw was hitting a nail in the framing underneath. So I put another one in right next to it, and it went in fine. So then, by hand, I did tighten that one. Even though it did hit a nail, I was able to tighten it so it went below the surface, so it seems fine. Okay, so this piece is in, and that'll be it for this section.